Proximal hamstring tendinopathy is notorious for being stubborn, but it doesn't have to be. I know this because I've seen close to 1,000 people living with PHT. However, as varied as each person is, I typically only see 5 roadblocks that keep people stuck in pain. But when I show them the easy fixes I'm about to share, they are often shocked at how quickly they start seeing improvements in their sitting, bending, and return to exercise. So listen very closely to each of these 5 scenarios and see if any of them fit your current situation. Roadblock number 1 that keeps people stuck in pain is having doctors and therapists only offer manual therapies and procedures. By far, the most popular magic bullets are shockwave therapy and PRP injections. Now, this might come as a surprise given its popularity, but the research in favour of shockwave isn't as robust as we're led to believe. Even among academics, debate still continues on not only its effectiveness, but on what it's actually doing to the tendon in the first place. In support of shockwave, I managed to find this paper stating that in professional athletes, shockwave is safe and effective. But when it comes to the recreational population, this paper found no difference in effectiveness when compared to a tailored exercise program. When I dug deeper, looking away from PHT and toward tendons with a larger body of research, I still kept finding no clinically meaningful benefit when using shockwave. And I'd say the research supporting the use of PRP is even more worrying, as evidence fails to demonstrate PRP superiority over placebo or standard conservative treatments. Don't get me wrong, these interventions may reduce pain for some, but in my opinion, these interventions aren't consistently getting results because they aren't doing anything to increase the strength of the tendon, which is the cornerstone of tendon rehab. To do that, you need the right strength exercises that progressively get heavier, provided it's safe and sensible to do so. If this method isn't executed properly, any return back to exercise will likely spike the load on the hamstring higher than the tendon can withstand, leading to another flare-up. This is probably why shockwave was beneficial in those professional athletes, because if I was to guess, I'd say their tendon already had a strong foundation before they started the shockwave treatment. And all they needed to do was calm down the pain, and getting back into training was an easier transition. But that's different to most of us, who've spent months doing minimal loading and are likely more deconditioned than these athletes. So in this scenario, you're stuck in pain, going from doctor to doctor, getting various expensive injections and procedures that aren't delivering long-term results. And if this fits your situation, I'm here to tell you you need to rebuild the strength and function of the tendon. Keep this in mind as I talk about roadblock number 2, which are people persisting with low-level loading exercises. I'd say this is about 60% of the clients I see. You visit a therapist, they assign bodyweight bridges and banded hamstring curls. It hurts a little bit to do, and you're told you aren't ready to progress, but the pain never gets better, and you're stuck like this for months. If this is you, listen closely. Tendons need a stronger signal in order to trigger the tendon to reorganize itself and start the healing process. Imagine you're trying to build bigger biceps with 2 kilo dumbbells. It might hurt, it might even ache a little bit afterwards, but after a few months, your muscles stop changing because the weight simply isn't heavy enough to send the signal, I need to get stronger. So instead of lifting heavier, you go and get a massage that feels really nice, but you then go back to 2 kilo bicep curls. It sounds ridiculous, but this is what we're doing with glute bridges, shockwave, and PRP. Now, some of you might be worried about doing more damage or causing bigger tendon tears if you start lifting heavier. And I will admit, it does require a tailored approach and sensible progressions alongside a therapist who knows a lot about this condition. Maybe an online therapist who's dedicated his entire profession just to treating this injury. But once you start the right exercises that consistently delivers a strong enough signal for the tendon to heal, you'll start to notice less pain and more confidence to lift heavy. I'll talk about the exercises that helped me shortly, but I want to touch on roadblock number 3 that has people still stuck in pain even though they're doing the right exercises. And it is because they are falling into the vicious boom-bust cycle. Let's be honest, being injured builds up a lot of frustration. And the boom-bust cycle is when that frustration builds up over weeks and months, and then when you notice that first sign of improvement, all that excitement builds up and gets released. You return to exercise way too quickly, causing a big flare-up because you dramatically exceeded the capacity of the tendon, and you're back to square one, building that pressure and frustration once again, repeating the cycle. If this is you, here is my advice. Learn from every flare-up. What went wrong? Don't repeat the same mistakes, and then write down each workout ahead of time, making sure it looks sensible on paper beforehand. When you start feeling better, keep reminding yourself, it's the plan that got you feeling good. Don't deviate. And if you don't trust yourself to stick to the plan, enlist a therapist or a coach for accountability. The fourth roadblock, keeping you in pain, is similar to the boom-bust cycle, but on a more subtle level, especially for you runners out there, and it is running at your easy pace too fast. I'll put my hand up for this one when I had PHT, and I'll share my own experience at the end of this video. In fact, comment below which scenario resonates with you. I'll be reading and replying to each one, and your response actually gives me a better idea of what videos to make in the future. Most runners don't know this, but when your running pace increases on a linear scale, your hamstring load increases exponentially. Essentially, we are underappreciating what's required of the hamstrings when we increase the pace even slightly. And this is why people are stuck in pain. They run really slowly initially due to pain. Then, once they start feeling better, they revert back to their feeling good slow pace, and it's too much too soon for the tendon. You wouldn't believe the number of clients I see that are shocked about how much they improve, and all I told them was to slow down. Then, when the time is right, we carefully sprinkle in short segments of faster running while keeping everything else really slow. Now, before I share my fifth roadblock and the rehab exercises that helped my own PHT journey, I want to tell you about this link I pasted in the description. If you're struggling with PHT and you're not sure what to do next, I've put together a 30-second questionnaire, literally just 6 multiple choice questions, and based on your answers, I'll point you towards the most effective next step for your situation. The fifth roadblock leaves people stuck in pain, even though they've done all the right things I've previously mentioned to fix a tendon. And it is because it's not the tendon. In other words, it's another structure or pathology mimicking PHT. Because, unfortunately, there are several pathologies that have overlapping symptoms with PHT. And while I'm not here to diagnose, I am here to give you as much clarity as possible. So let me lay out some typical behaviors and tests you can do at home to see if it's likely you have PHT. First, the initial onset was due to mechanical overload, likely increasing running mileage, speed, hills, or your gym classes too quickly. Second, pain stays localized to that sit bone area, only occasionally radiating into the upper hamstring, not further down, not higher up. Third, it is aggravated by stretching forwards, sitting on hard surfaces, hinging movements like deadlifts, or running beyond its capacity, especially speed work. Fourth, your symptoms are reproduced by either a shoe-off test, pretending to slide your shoe off the affected side by digging in your heel, the heel press test, digging the heel into the box or a chair with the knees and hips at a 90-degree angle, or a long lever glute bridge. None of these in isolation will 100% rule in or rule out PHT, but the more your presentations fits this checklist, the more likely it's PHT. Like I've mentioned before, I have had a long journey overcoming PHT. And right after you comment below which roadblocks fit your situation, you can then click on this video where I share what exercises I did for long-term healing and for immediate pain relief, alongside how I got back to sitting the entire day without symptoms.